Hi, I'm Robert Mazza, and today I'd like to talk to you about the South Shore Wine Company, which was actually Erie County's first commercial winery, established in 1864. When South Shore Wine Company opened in 1864, it had been under construction for about 4 years. One of the investors actually was a Major Condit Smith, who was a major in the Civil War. And the first winemaker was John Foley, who was his quartermaster. And he traveled from other parts to Northeast community, basically to make the first vintage at the South Shore Wine Company, which consisted of about 15,000 gallons, which was very significant. They had some unfortunate circumstances, though. In December, one of the cellars, the intermediate cellar they called it, where they stored wine barrels, unfortunately one of the beams gave way, and on that Sunday morning in December, they lost about 5,000 gallons of wine when the casks came crashing down into the wine cellar. So it was a real setback for a new company that was starting out, but they managed to rebound from that and operated and made some award-winning wines worldwide. Their Old Crusted Port is perhaps the one that they were most famous for, a nice fortified wine, and they operated right up and through Prohibition, when, of course, many of the wineries in this country went fallow because of the new laws. The entrance was actually geared towards a horse-drawn carriage, bringing the grapes down and ultimately bringing the finished product, whether they were barrels or finished case goods, out of the cellar. So you'll notice that there's actually ramps for the wagon wheels to go down into the wine cellar, and the steps in the center of that were for the horse, so the horse could manage to go up and down without sliding on the ramp portion of it. So that's a real interesting feature of the wine cellar, and naturally we've had to remodel that and mitigate some water issues to make it purpose for a wine tasting facility. In the 1920s, an investor from a Pittsburgh area acquired the South Shore Wine Company and turned it into the South Shore Inn. Significant amount of construction was done, rooms were added, there was a kitchen, a full-service kitchen was added, and it was literally a resort hotel at the time. And really flourished. Many of the changes that we made when we acquired the building in 2007 were very significant in terms of the structure. The entire building was actually sagging by about 13 inches. It took us approximately 7 months with about 20-ton jacks to raise the building up to a level where it was appropriate again, and then properly reinforce it with steel columns from the third floor down to the second floor, through the intermediate cellar, all the way down into the wine cellar. So now we're fairly confident that that structure will remain intact for the next 150 years. But we're considered to be minimalists when it comes to restoration, especially in the wine cellar. Some of the concrete floors are really not in very good condition, but you have to think back on it, and people that fought in the Civil War actually walked on those concrete floors. So the last thing we wanted to do was tear up floors that had that sort of historical perspective. Even when we did a lot of the repointing in the stone and everything, we tried to match the color of the mortar as much as possible to that time, and we did it in a fashion where if it wasn't necessary to do, we just simply didn't do it. We wanted to preserve as much of the natural architecture as possible. One of the nicest features of the wine cave is the archway that goes from the wine cave into our tasting room. And you'll notice that it's basically not the type of keystone construction that you would see in an arch. It's called a soldier's course, where flat stones are laid very, very close to one another with a very small mortar joint, and that creates the arch. We felt that that was so significant and such a beautiful aspect of the architecture that we incorporated in our South Shore Wine Company logo, and that actually is the logo on many other wine bottles. As I said, the South Shore Wine Company flourished as the South Shore Inn, I should say, from 1950s to the 1970s. It went through several ownership changes, a lot of different uses, but we've brought it back. The Mazza family has brought it back to its original use. While we don't produce any wines there, it's part of the Mazza Vineyards operation. South Shore Wine Company is its own brand. It stands alone with that, and we have retail sales and tasting at that facility. In addition to that, we've also created a banquet facility upstairs where the full-service South Shore Inn restaurant once was located. So we have various events there that are catered, and as well as several years ago we added an outdoor cafe, which is seasonal. It opens around mid-May through Columbus Day weekend. It offers a very light menu, salads, panini sandwiches, that sort of thing. We've gotten very many compliments from many people in the area that have thanked us for saving the building, because it was really in a great amount of disrepair and really about ready to fall in on itself. And we're really very proud of that. I mean, I love building new buildings, but there's nothing that's more satisfying than taking an old building that has a lot of historical significance and bringing it back to its original state and making it functional again and being an integral part of a beautiful community as we have in Northeast.